Continue reading from Sri Caitanya Caritamrita Adi-Lila. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we are reading from Adi-Lila, chapter 4, text 30. Neither the gopis nor I shall notice this, for our minds will always be entranced by another's beauty and qualities. So this is what Krishna is thinking. These are Krishna's thoughts. And we read yesterday that how in Vaikuntha planets, which is all above this material world, it's the spiritual world, Narayan is worshipped, Lord Narayan is worshipped, he is worshipped, but the mood there is of awe and reverence. The sweetness of love is not there. Of course, there is love. There is pure love. That's the reason they are there in Vaikuntha. If the pure love is not revived, they won't be in Vaikuntha. But the sweetness, the madhurya is not there. It's more in the mood of awe and reverence. I don't know how to say the awe and reverence in Hindi. I don't know how to say that. But that the mood is like that. Whereas in Krishna Lok, which is the highest planet of Golok, the sweetness is there in the loving relationship. The sweetness in the exchange is there. And that sweetness, that love is what attracts Krishna's heart. So he's thinking, this is what his thought process was before he came 500 years ago as Lord Chaitanya, that how will people get this sweet love? How will they know that such a love exists? So in Golok Vrindavan, there is an exchange of love known as Parakiya Ras. It is something like the attraction of a married woman for a man other than her husband. Oh my God, how can be? We are talking about the spiritual world. How can there be? There is attraction of a married woman for a man other than her husband. This is called Parakiya Ras, and this is the highest in the spiritual world. What is this? Are we talking about the spiritual world, or what are we talking about? In the material world, this sort of relationship is most abominable because it is a perverted reflection of the Parakiya Ras in the spiritual world, where it is the highest kind of loving affair. So this material world is a perverted reflection. So whatever is the highest in the spiritual world appears to be the lowest in the material world. And that's why when we say loving service, it's the highest in the spiritual world. But in the material world, service sounds so horrible, we don't want to hear it because it's a perverted reflection. But the true form is there in the spiritual world. Similarly, this Parakiya Ras is the highest exchange of love in the spiritual world. But because it's the highest there, in the material world, it appears the lowest. How can a married woman have an affair with a man? What's going on? You know, it's illegal. So if we see in the reflection, like if there's a tree, how we read the banyan tree in the Bhagavad Gita, the banyan tree, the reflection is there. So the highest point of the tree, it appears to be the lowest point in the reflection. So such feelings between the devotee and the Lord are presented by the influence of Yoga Maya. In the spiritual world, in the Vaikuntha planets, there is Yoga Maya potency. That is Krishna's internal potency. Yoga Maya, spiritual, not material. Mahamaya is Krishna's material energy. That is how this material world is being maintained. That is how our relationships are, all under the influence of Mahamaya, the three modes of nature. But in the spiritual world, it's all Yogamaya, spiritual. The Bhagavad Gita states that devotees of the highest grade are under the care of Deva Maya or Yoga Maya. Mahatmanas tu mam partha devim prakritim ashritaha. Bhagavad Gita 9.13. So even the pure devotees, they are under this, they are under the care of Yogamaya. Those who are actually great soul Mahatmas are fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, always engaged in the service of the Lord. They are under the care of Devi Prakriti or Yogamaya. So even when these pure devotees who are liberated personalities, they are the great Mahatmas, when they come to this material world, they are under the protection of the internal energy, the Yogamaya potency, even though they are in the material world. How is that? Because they love for Krishna so much, they don't want to forget Krishna. Why is Mahamaya there for us? Because we want to forget Krishna. So she helps us forget him. When we want to remember Krishna, the same Maya, she helps us remember him, and that becomes Yoga Maya. So from Krishna's point of view, it's the same energy, just depends on our desire. Now the Mahatmas, the great pure devotees, they never want to forget Krishna. They love Krishna so much. They always want to love Krishna more and more. So naturally, they are under the Yogamaya potency. Yogamaya creates a situation in which the devotee is prepared to transgress all regulative principles simply to love Krishna. So Yogamaya is creating this situation. She's creating this mood in the devotee because it's based on pure love, nothing to do with lust. We are not even able to understand it because we don't even know what does love mean. All what we think is love here in the material world is actually lust. Lust goes in the name of love here in the material world. But this is pure love we are talking about. So a devotee naturally does not like to transgress the laws of reverence for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But by the influence of Yogamaya, he's prepared to do anything to love the Supreme Lord better. So this is to create even deeper love, to experience the deepest loving emotions. This situation is created. So those under the spell of the material energy cannot at all appreciate the activities of Yogamaya, for a conditioned soul can hardly understand the pure reciprocation between the Lord and his devotee. We are not able to understand the love that Krishna has and the devotee has for him and the loving relationship. We really are not able to understand what's happening or to appreciate fully. It's a pure loving relationship. That's why, like, it's some glimpses we are getting by hearing the pastimes of Krishna, how Krishna is acting and interacting with his devotees. His pastimes in Krishna book, Bhagavatam, or now we are trying to read Caitanya Caritamrita. Little bit we can understand. But in our experience in the material world, all our dealings are based on lust or anger or pride. Where's the love there? Prabhupada would say that a glimmer, just a glimmer of love in the material world we can see is in the relationship between the mother and her small child. That the mother and the small child, that she's willing to do anything for the child. That also, he said, now because of Kali Yuga, we can't see it so much. So we really don't know what this pure love is. But by executing devotional service under the regulative principles, one can become very highly elevated and then begin to appreciate the dealings of pure love under the management of Yogamaya. So how will we be able to understand this love? By engaging in devotional service, which begins by hearing and chanting. Continue hearing about Krishna from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and all the scriptures, and chant the holy name. Then we will be able to understand Krishna's heart, the devotee's heart, their relationship. And all this is under the spiritual energy, the Yoga Maya, the internal potency of Krishna. In the spiritual loving sentiment induced by the Yoga Maya potency, both Lord Sri Krishna and the damsels of Raj forget themselves in spiritual rapture. By the influence of such forgetfulness, the attractive beauty of the gopis play a prominent part in the transcendental satisfaction of the Lord, who has nothing to do with mundane sex. Because spiritual love of Godhead is above everything mundane, the gopis superficially seem to transgress the codes of mundane morality. So the Yogamaya potency, as we have been saying, to create this deep love for Krishna and his devotees, the gopis, to experience this deepest spiritual love, to experience that, she helps them forget everything else, that, oh, I'm married, I'm not married, anything, but this is my lover and this is my beloved and I want to be with him or with her. And this has nothing to do with the sex life that we know here in the material world, because in the spiritual world, there is no this mundane sex. Everything is transcendental based on love. It's all loving dealings. So artificially we are thinking, it appears to us that, oh, the gopis are married, how they are doing Ras-Lila with Krishna. So this perpetually puzzles mundane moralists. Therefore, Yogamaya acts to cover the Lord and his pastimes from the eyes of mundaners, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.25, where the Lord says that he reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone. So Krishna is like that. We are like that also. If we think somebody who really does not want to know us, but is there only to criticize us or to just get upset at us, find faults in us, we will say, good luck to you. Why shall I tell you about anything? You don't want to know anything about me, so why shall I tell you? Krishna is a person. He's a supreme person. So of course he feels the same thing. He is very private. He does not show himself to everyone. It's his choice who he wants to show himself to or not, who he wants to reveal his pastimes to or not. And so that's the reason many people misunderstand Krishna's pastimes. And they are like, oh, how could he do that? It's against the moral codes. We are great moralists. But they don't understand Krishna. That's why they're able to say this. They do not understand the position of Krishna. They don't understand the position of gopis. The gopis are Krishna's own personal expansions. They are no one else's. They are Krishna's own personal internal energy. So he can have pastimes with his own energy. What's wrong with that? So because people don't understand, then they just point fingers, find faults with Krishna. And then he says, you want to find fault with me? Fine. You have my blessings. You can continue to do so. But if you really want to know me, I can show you my true heart, my true feelings. So we should have that desire to really know Krishna's heart, how loving his heart is. The acts of Yogamaya make it possible for the Lord and the gopis in loving ecstasy to sometimes meet and sometimes separate. These transcendental loving affairs of the Lord are unimaginable to empiricists involved in the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Therefore, the Lord himself appears before the mundaners to bestow upon them the highest form of spiritual realization and also personally relish its essence. So we are not able to understand, how Krishna and his devotee has such loving relationships. So to show us, he comes personally, and he enacts those pastimes which are eternally happening in Krishna Lok, in the spiritual world. He comes to show that there is so much love being exchanged between the devotee and Krishna eternally. So these are unimaginable to the people who think that just God is only light. So he's showing us that, no, okay, light is just my feature. That's okay. Light is coming from my body, but I'm a person, and I have feelings, and I have feelings. I have personal relationships I like to enjoy. So then the Lord is so merciful that he himself descends to take the fallen souls back home to the kingdom of Godhead, where the erotic principles of Godhead are eternally relished in their real form, distinct from the perverted sexual love so much adored and indulged in by the fallen souls in their diseased condition. So here in the material world, everything is based on sex life. That's what's keeping us here in the material world. Yeah, and that's just there. We are so attached to this sex life, but where is it coming from? Where is it coming from? We are saying that this material world is a perverted reflection. So this is a perverted reflection of the true love that we have for Krishna. There is no perverted sex in the spiritual world. It's only love. It's just loving relationship. The reason the Lord displays the Ras-Lila is essentially to induce all the fallen souls to give up their diseased morality and religiosity and to attract them to the kingdom of God, to enjoy the reality. What is the reality? That each of us have a loving relationship with Krishna, not a sexual relationship, but a loving relationship. A person who actually understands what the Ras-Lila is will certainly hate to indulge in mundane sex life. For the self-realized soul, hearing the Lord's Ras-Lila through the proper channel will result in complete abstinence from material sexual pleasure. So this is how pure the Ras-Lila is. That it can, if we are hearing it in the proper way in the parampara system from the pure devotee, it can cure this disease of sex life that we have. And we will be able to appreciate Krishna's pure love. If we hear from non-devotees, there are many people who love to speak of Ras-Lila. They'll say Bhagavad Sapta, 7 days hear the Bhagavatam, and all they're talking about is Ras-Lila. Even in places like Vrindavan, that's what's happening. But we should not hear Ras-Lila from somebody who's not a pure devotee. And pure devotees do not even speak about Ras-Lila. They will not speak about Ras-Lila. They will speak about Krishna lifting the Govardhan hill. They will speak about Krishna killing the demons. Very rarely will they speak about Ras-Lila. And even if they will speak about it in a very, not in the deepest way. Why? Because they know we are not able to understand it. We will take it cheaply because of our impure consciousness right now. Any questions or comments? If no, then we'll stop here for today for Caitanya Caritamrita. Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.